لا أريد أن أشتري. بسم الله. إيه؟
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها قالت لما قبض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اختلفوا فيه. قال أبو بكر سمعت من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ما كان الله نبيا إلا في موضع الذي يحب أن يدفن فيه ادفنوه في موضع فراشه القرآن.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأن عائشة رأيت أن أثارتي عائشة صديقة رضي الله تعالى عنها قالت لما قبض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, when the soul of Rasulullah was taken, اختلفوا في دفنه, they differed with regard, يعني صحابة كرام differed with regards to the place where they should bury him. فقال أبو بكر, and Abu Bakr said, سمعت من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم شيئا. Okay, I heard something, I got some guidance from Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says, ما قبض الله نبيا إلا في موضع يدفن فيه يدفنوه. That Allah Ta'ala does not take the life of a Nabi except at the same place where He wishes that the Nabi will be buried. So what he's saying is, if Allah Ta'ala wishes a Nabi must be buried in a certain place, then Allah Ta'ala will take his life in that place there. See there. ما قبض الله نبيا, Allah Ta'ala does not take the soul of a Nabi إلا في موضع الذي, except in the place يحب, that Allah Ta'ala loves, يدفن فيه, that he must be buried there. So إدفنوه في موضع فراشه, on his bed he passed away, so bury him there on his bed, right? رواه الترمذي, Imam Tirmidhi narrates this particular right. اختلفوا, so Sahaba Ikram were not sure where Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam should be buried. Some said no, we must take him to Makkatul Mukarramah because that's the place where he's born. Some said no, Baitul Maqdis because all the Anbiya are buried there. Some said in Jannatul Baqi. And then Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu gave his input and they settled for his input. Let's read the next riwayat, inshallah.
عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول وهو صحيح إنه لن يقبض نبي حتى يرى مقعده من الجنة ثم يخير. قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها فلما نزل به.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. عن عائشة رأيتنا أثرت عائشة الصديقة, she said قالت كان الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to say, وَهُوَ صَحِيٌّ وَعَيْلِ was healthy, أنه لا يقبض نبي حتى يرى or حتى يرى. What you got? يرى or يرى? What you got there? حتى يرى مقعده من الجنة. Narrated on the authority of Aisha Siddiqa, she said the Rasul said, whilst he was still healthy, that لا يقبض نبي, a Nabi is never taken حتى يرى مقعده من الجنة, until he is shown, right? Until his place, maq'ad, his place of rest of Jannah is shown. ثم يخير, now he's given a choice. Carry on.
عائشة رضي الله عنها فلما نزل به رأسه على فخذيه يسمع عليه.
So قالت عائشة, was Aisha Siddiqa said, لما نزل به, right, when it happened, what happened to him? ورأسه على فخذي, and his head was on my thigh, right? وغشي عليه, and he was unconscious, it was covered upon him, right? Carry on. ثم فاق, then he regained his consciousness, right? فأشخص بصره, then he raised his sight إلى السقف, to the sky, right? Then he said, Allahumma Rafiq al-A'la, O Allah, the hidden ibadah, I choose the lofty companion, the companion which is high upright. قلت إذا لا يختارنا. So Aisha Siddiqa said, when I heard him saying this here, that Ar-Rafiq al-Ala, I knew, I said, then لا يختارنا, he won't choose us. He's not going to choose to remain with us now. Now he's made his choice. He wants to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Right. So he said, وَعَرَفْتُ, then I knew, أنه, this is the thing, أن الحديث الذي, that he used to speak about it, right, when he was, when he was healthy, he used to speak about something, when he was so strong. What's the thing he spoke about? وصحيح في قول توات. أنه لا يقبض نبي قط, a Nabi is not taken حتى يرى مقعده من الجنة, until his place in Jannah is seen, shown to him, right? ثم يخير, then he's given a choice. Carry on. قال عائشة فكان آخر كلمة, إذا اسمنا, as Aisha said, آخر كلمة, the last word, right, right. So قالت عائشة, as Aisha said, فكان آخر كلمة تكلم بها, the last words تكلم بها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, that Nabi sallam spoke it. He said this here, Allahumma ar-rafiq al-a'la, oh Allah, I've chosen the high, lofty companion. In other words, I want to go to Allah Ta'ala. Muttafaqun alayhi, muttafaq alayhi riwayat. So the hadith is pretty simple. We can a few, two, three things which has been discussed in the previous hadith also, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in fact not Rasul, all the Anbiya, they are shown their places in Jannah before they pass away, and they are given a choice, right? They can choose. Just two words here, two, three words. Afaqa means to regain consciousness. So you can say Nabi was slipping into consciousness, slipping out of consciousness. Afaqa, right? Ashkhasa, to basarahu, to raise your sight towards the sky. And from other hadith also, that from the words that he should say while he was ill, says, as-salah, as-salah, wa ma malakat aymanukum, look after your salah, look after your salah, and wa ma malakat aymanukum, be considerate of the slaves that are in your care, etc. And other riwayat he said, anfidhu jaysha ushamata, that equip and send ahead the army of Usama radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Right, okay, read the next hadith, inshallah. Well, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعنها, also narrated on the Tariq of Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha, قالت, she said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, that Nabi Sallam used to say, كان in the film Mudari means ماضي استمراري, right? في مرضه الذي, in the illness الذي مات فيه, the one he died in it. يا عائشة, أو عائشة صديقة, ما أزال أجد ألم الطعام, I continue to experience ألم الطعام, the pain of the food, right? طعام الذي أكلت بخيبر, I ate in Khaybar, and that is speaking about the poisoned meat, right? وهذا أوانه, these are the times, right? هذا أوانه. وجدت انقطاع أبهري, I find and experience the cutting off of my artery. من ذلك السم, because of that poison. رواه البخاري, Imam Bukhari narrates this. So you see from this riwayat also, it says here, alam normally refer to pain, right? Some difficulty, right? Bi Khaybar, remember that woman that poisoned the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? She gave him the poisoned meat at the time of Khaybar. So from this we understand that maybe immediately after he was poisoned, he experienced the difficulty of the poison, and then Allah Ta'ala stopped the pain, but then to the latter part of his life, it came back. I'm still experiencing. So this was what do you understand? If a person died because of poison, etc., that person is a shaheed. So this means that Rasulullah was also a shaheed because he died because of the poison. So here in the Shara, they got some explanation with regards to the vein. So the vein is normally the one that carries the blood from the heart to the body. Abhar. That this vein normally, when you sever it, a person, you pass away. It's a vein that runs from the feet up till the head, and it branches out into little arteries. When it reaches the head, the same vein is called nama. When it's by the throat, then it's called warid, min hablil warid. The Quran, eh? When it comes below the chest, it's called abhar. And it goes with the same vein, when it goes below the feet, it's called safin. Right. When it runs on your same vein, when the portion that runs on the side is called akahal. Now, yeah, so this I told you that obviously the relevance of the hadith of the chapter is quite obvious. And Nabi Sallallahu is saying he died because the effects of the poison. So that means Nabi Sallallahu was also a shaheed. The next hadith is a very, very important hadith. It's called Hadith Qirtas. And the reason why this hadith is such a famous hadith is because it is here that the Shias, they accuse as Umar. I'll just tell you briefly. That first, before we read the hadith, let me give you a brief explanation. See, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, just change the page, in his last illness when he was sick. Now, this hadith we do in a lot of detail normally in all the kitabs, answers, objections, etc. Because I tell you, it is Umar radiallahu ta'ala is being accused in this hadith. In the last illness, Nabi Sallallahu requested for a pen and paper, and he wanted to write something down. So Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala said that Nabi Sallallahu is not well, and he gave us so much advice in his life, and he was ready. We've got the kitab. There's no need to inconvenience Rasulullah why is not well by writing something for us. And then the Sahaba Ikram differed. And Nabi Sallallahu said, you people are making a noise here by me, and I'm not well. Go out from here. Right? So that is what happened. So now the Shia said, look, Nabi Sallallahu actually wanted to record who will be his successor. Right? And they say he wanted to record Hazrat Ali as his successor. Are you with me? And because Hazrat Umar knew perhaps that Nabi Sallallahu wanted to record Hazrat Ali as his successor, that is why he stopped him from writing. So if Nabi Sallallahu wrote that Hazrat Ali's successor, that means there will be no room for Hazrat Umar to succeed Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because he was also young. Hazrat he was younger than all the other Sahaba Ikram. So that means he would obviously outlive Hazrat Umar, and then there would be no room for Hazrat Umar to be his successor. Right? Are you with me? So they say that that was his scheme to prevent Rasul from writing down his successor. Now, without looking at the hadith, we're going to do the hadith now in detail. I just want to tell you two things. Normally, why do people want leadership position? They want leadership position so that they can dip into the resources. Look at the life of Hazrat Abu Bakr. Look at the life of Hazrat Umar. Do you see them enjoying any luxuries of being the leader? Did they dip into the any resources into the resources of the state or anything? Nothing. They were not interested. In fact, after becoming the Khalifatul Muslimin, both of them became more abstemious of the dunya. They became more abstemious, right? So in our urf, when we speak about leadership, political leadership, etc., we think about getting into the pound seat where you can benefit yourself, you can benefit your family. But here, uh, Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala was not as Abu Bakr, as Umar. They were not interested in benefiting themselves. So that shows you they had no aspirations, they had no agendas when they were elected as the Khulafa. They had no, what you call it, ulterior motives. And especially here, he had no ulterior motive. Okay, let's read. Who's reading? Bismillah.
ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما لما أظهر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بيت رجال فيهم عمر.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن ابن عباس narrating authority of Abbas, لما حضر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. When Rasul was, this is a majhul meaning, it means he was when he was presented, when something became present. That's why also you see in the Kutub al-Fiqh, a person that is about to pass away is called a muhdar or muhtadar, that the angels come to him. So in other words, when the angels, لما حضر رسول الله, when adversary referred to a person his last illness in his deathbed, when it's a muhtadar, right? وفي البيت رجال, and in the house surrounding with some men, right? Carry on. Right, amongst them, فيهم Umar ibn al-Khattab, was Umar ibn al-Khattab also, right? Right. So Nabi Sallallahu said, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم هلموا أكتب لكم كتابا كم. Let me write something for you people. Some was nasiyat, right, before I go. That لن تضلوا بعده, you will never ever lose the road. You'll never be misguided after this, right? فقال Umar said, قال غلب عليه الوجع. Right? Look here. You got غلب عليه الوجع. You also got, you got what you got there? Huh? That actually makes more sense. He said, um, Umar said, look here. قد غلب عليه الوجع. That the pain is overpowering him. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is in a great deal of discomfort. Right? وَإِنَّكُمُ الْقُرْآنُ. You got the Quran, we got the Quran. Don't give the Nabi the difficulty of now dictating. حسبكم كتاب الله. That حسبكم كتاب الله, the book of Allah Ta'ala, is sufficient for you, right? فاختلف أهل البيت. So the people of the house, they differed now. What should we do? Should we get a pen for Nabi Sallallahu to write, right? فاختلف, right? So they started arguing, so to say, right? So some of them said, فمنهم ما يقولوا قربوا, right? Come close. يكتب لكم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Rasulullah will write for you, right? And then listen, this is critical. From the household of Rasulullah, also those who coincide with Umar, say, yeah, don't trouble Rasulullah. We got the kitab. ومنهم ما يقولوا, they said, ما قال عمر, Umar said, right? Leave him, let Nabi Sallam rest, right? So أكثر اللغة والاختلاف, when they increase اللغة, the noise, والاختلاف, in the اختلاف, right? Right. قال Rasul said, قوموا عني, stand up from me, go away from here. You are making a noise, right? Right. So قال عبيد الله, Ubaidullah is saying, listen now nicely now, that this is moving now to a different thing. That Ibn Abbas, فقال ابن عباس, كان ابن عباس, Ibn Abbas used to say with regards to this incident, he said, Inna raziyata kulla raziyah. What the unfortunate thing was a complete unfortunate. That was what transpired there at that point in time was absolutely unfortunate. If only they left Rasulullah SAW to write and to give his message, then this whole maybe story of successorship, the Shias claim as the Ali is the final Khalifa, the immediate Khalifa, bila tafsil, etc., etc. So if they left him, then the matter would have been solved. Unfortunately, so the regret is a complete regret. Right? ما حال بين رسول الله وبين اكتب لهم ذلك الكتاب. What had occurred between Rasulullah and between that he will write for them that kitab لإختلافهم, because of their differing, ولغتهم, and they making a noise. Right? Carry on. Right. وفي رواية وفي رواية سليمان بن مسلم, and a riwayat of Sulaiman ibn Muslim, Al-Ahwal is mentioned. Yeah, Nabi Sallallahu said, Hazrat Abbas said, Yawm al-Khamis, wama Yawm al-Khamis. That Wednesday, if only you knew what happened that Wednesday. In other words, that Rasulullah Sallallahu wanted to give us some nasihat, he wanted to give us some advice, but they made noise and they stopped him, right? Thumma baka, right? Right. He used to cry hatta balla dam'u al-hasa, until his tears, Rasulullah Sallallahu tears would wet al-hasa, would wet the pebbles. So this the person when Ibn Abbas was telling, he said, قال قلت يا ابن عباس وما يوم الخميس. What is the day of Khamis? He explains that اشتد برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وجعه, that the pain became severe with Rasulullah. It was the day that he was, he was experiencing the pain, what you call it, the inconvenience of the poison, etc. And he said, فَقَالَ أَتُونِي بِكَتِفٍ, bring me something. أَكْتُبْ لَكُمْ, I want to write for you something. Kitaban, right? لَا تَضِلُّ, you will not be misguided after this ever again. So these people, so as the Abbas explaining, so they began disputing, arguing. فَتَنَازَعُوا, they began arguing. Right? وَلَا يَنْبَغِي إِنَّ النَّبِيِّ التَّنَازُعُ تَنَازُعٌ. And obviously it's not appropriate that people must argue. Nabi so some said, bring me a paper, and now they argue, etc., etc., right? Right. So as Ibn Abbas is still saying that, look here, فَقَالُوا, these people that were in the presence of Nabi, they said, مَا شَأْنُهُ, what is happening to Rasulullah also, right? A hajara, is he, like, sometimes when you are not by your senses, maybe you say something incoherent. So you say, a hajara, ma sha'nu, what is the problem? A hajara, did he make an incoherent sentence, right? Did he make a, right? Istafhimuhu, right? Ask him. Right? Istafhimu, carry on. Right. فَذَهَبُوا يَرُدُّونَ عَلَيْهِ, so they went, رَدَّ يَرُدُّ, repeating, asking him, right? So by then Rasulullah was annoyed. He said, Da'uni, leave me, Zaruni, leave me alone. Right. So he said, فَالَّذِي, that which أَنَا فِي, I am in it, خَيْرٌ مِمَّا تَدْعُونَنِي إِلَيْهِ, it is better than what you are calling me to. Right now I'm at peace, I'm going to my Rabb, etc. You calling me to your ikhtilaf, etc. فَالَّذِي أَنَا فِي خَيْرٌ مِمَّا تَدْعُونَنِي إِلَيْهِ, right? Then he said, فَأَمَرَهُمْ بِثَلَاثٍ, he gave them 3 advices, right? أخرج الْمُشْرِكِينَ, remove the mushrikeen from the Arabian Peninsula. Normally in jihad, when you come, you tell the people, look here, Either you accept Islam and you live under us, or you pay the jizya and then you live as a non-Muslim, right? Or you make jihad. But in the Arabian Peninsula, that wasn't an option. Either you become Muslim or jihad. There's no question of living as a non-Muslim in the Arabian Peninsula. As we said, فقال أخرجوا المشركين من جزيرة العرب. Remove the mushrikeen from the Arabian Peninsula, right?
أجيز الوفد بنحو ما كنت فيه.
Right. وأجيزوا and you can say provide وأجيزوا the الوفد provide for the delegations بنحو ما كنت أجيزهم with the like which I so in other words when the foreign delegations come, treat them with respect, treat them with honor, right? وأجيزوا الوفد بنحو ما كنت أجيزهم, right? So he's saying وسكت عن الثلاثة أو قال لها نسيتها. So the Rawi is saying Ibn Abbas, he didn't mention the third thing, right? وسكت عن الثلاثة أو قال, or he said it, but I forgot. I can't remember what he said, right? I can't remember it, right? Yeah. So قال سفيان said هذا من قول Sulaiman was saying that look here, I can't remember what Ibn Abbas said. The third thing was I forgot what it was, right? You understood that? So I've given you a brief overview of the hadith that the Shia say that as Umar didn't want Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to write anything because he feared he will be preempted. He will be preempted in the um, in the successorship of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hence, he didn't want to write. And now, what are the answers? Let's look at the hadith. So that is the crux of the hadith. That is the crux of the hadith that they accuse Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu of stopping Rasulullah sallallahu from recording who his successor will be. Uktub lakum kitaban. Bring some paper. I want to give you some type of advice. Right? That was such advice that you will not be misguided after this ever. So what was this that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to advise them with? Ulama mentioned many, many different things, what it could be. But the most preferred opinion people choose, they say, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to nominate his successor. But Mullah Ali Qari, he says no. It doesn't appear like he wanted to nominate his successor, and we'll give you the reasons why. So the Shia say that at this point, Hazrat Nabi Sallam wanted to mention his successor, right? He wanted to say that Ali is going to be successor. Now remember, Ghadir Khum was a well between Makkah and Medina, right? Now in Ghadir Khum, they were, as Ali radiallahu ta'ala done some distribution of some booty. Then some people were unhappy with Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu's distribution, remember? And they became annoyed at him and they complained to Rasulullah sallallahu. So Nabi Sallam said, Man kuntu maulahu fa aliyun maulahu. That whoever I'm his friend, then Ali is also his friend. Like how I say, if you love me, you have to love my wife. It's not possible that you say you're fond of me, you're affectionate of me, but you hate my wife. You invite me to your party, but you don't invite my wife. So at that point in time, when they were annoyed with Hazrat Ali about his distribution of the booty, Nabi Sallallahu clarified, look here, Ali is part of me. He's my son-in-law. He's one of the first, just paraphrasing, he's one of the first persons who accepted Islam, etc., etc. He's my cousin. So if you love me, you have to love him. If you want to take me Mawla, if you want to take me as your Mawla, if you want to take me as your friend, then you have to take Hazrat Ali as your friend. It's not possible that you say you love me, but you have enmity for me. So that is our explanation of the hadith, because that's what the word suggests. There's no talk about successorship. There is no talk about successorship here. Are you with me? So we say, look here, Ghadir Khum, there was no thought of successorship. But let's say hypothetically, it was an appointment of Hazrat Ali. So if Hazrat Ali was already appointed as the Khalifa at Ghadir Khum, then what was the need to appoint him again now? You understand what I'm saying? So you can't say that here Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he stopped Hazrat Ali he stopped Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam from appointing his successor. You can't say that because according to your own claims that he was already appointed at the Ghadir Khum as the Khalifa or as the successor or Khalifatul Awwal. So how can now you say now here you want to appoint him? You understand what I'm saying? So that is one answer to say that no, as the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was not ready to appoint his Khalifa here for something else. And then another answer here is that look here, from this point when Nabi Sallallahu requested then a pen and paper, Nabi Sallallahu still lived another 3 days after that. What he done? He lived so if it was that he wanted to appoint a Khalifa, then he could, after that, he could also say, look here, when Hazrat Umar, Na'udhu Billah, can you even believe this here? That the Shias, this is like you can laugh at this. They say that Nabi was afraid of Hazrat Umar. Hazrat Umar was a big size person, strong person, big person. So they say that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was afraid of Hazrat Umar, Na'udhu Billah. They say a lot of times as Umar radiallahu ta'ala who influenced Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's decisions because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was afraid of Umar because he was big size, powerful person. So if we say that that if we say hypothetically that he wanted to mention his success, then a simple answer here is okay. Nabi Sallam lived 3 days after that, and obviously as Umar wasn't all the time with him, he could have always mentioned his successor after that. So we can say, in technically speaking, he agreed with the Rai. We can say this is a muwafaqat Umar. Those times when as Umar radiallahu ta'ala presented an opinion, there are many times where as Umar radiallahu ta'ala presented opinion, and then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted his opinion. So this we can say is of the muwafaqat Umar, that we as Umar present the opinion and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted it because, as I said, he lived 3 days after this. And if he lived 3 days after this, if he really wanted to record his successor, he could have recorded his successor. So this was, they say here, this was on a Thursday night. And he passed away only on the Monday. So it wasn't something like Khilafat or successorship. And even if we say, if, for example, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to name his successor, he wanted to name his Khalifa, then all indications are there that he wanted to nominate Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala and his Khalifa. Like there are many riwayats which says, يَعْبَ اللَّهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِلَّا أَبَا بَكْرٍ يَعْبَ اللَّهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِلَّا أَبَا بَكْرٍ, that Allah and the believers will refuse everyone except as Abu Bakr. And then we say that even there is wisdom in the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't let it write it because Nabi Sallam didn't clearly say as Abu Bakr is his successor, but there were many indications like this. Ya'aballahu wal mu'minuna illa Aba Bakrin, that Allah and the believers, they will refuse anybody as a successor except as Abu Bakr. When Nabi Sallam was once, I think it was in the same illness, then the lady came to Rasulullah for some work, and she said that, Ya Rasulullah, if I come back and you are not here, Allah Ta'ala has taken you away, what should I do? Then Nabi Sallallahu said, then go to Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. What? Go to Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. So, although amongst us also the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, some of our ulama say that Rasulullah clearly mentioned it as Abu Bakr was his successor, but I think the preferred opinion amongst ulama is he didn't clearly mention who his successor was, but he indicated towards who his successor was. And one of the reasons for this is that if he clearly mentioned who his successor was, and then people rejected it, then it will be clear kufr. So if Nabi Sallallahu clearly said, as Abu Bakr is my successor, and then the Shias came and they rejected it, then that would be clear kufr on their behalf, right? But if Rasulullah Sallallahu didn't clearly mention, but he just indicated towards his it indicated who his successor will be, then that is not clear kufr. That is not clear kufr. You understood that? So in that sense, it is even a mercy that Nabi Sallallahu didn't mention clearly who his successor was or who his successor was to be. So what we say is our explanation of the hadith is this here, that as Nabi Sallallahu didn't want to mention his successor, right? This is our official Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, our understanding of this hadith, that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not want to mention his successor. He just wanted to give some advice. And when as Umar, etc., advised him that, look, it's not necessary to give advice now. You have already advised us, etc., etc. So he concurred with Umar. That's what we say, the muwafaqat of Umar, where Nabi Sallallahu concurred with him. And then we say the wisdom is that if he had to clearly mention who his Khalifa was and then people rejected, then it would be outright kufr. So if there is a Shia that still believe as Ali would be successor, but he doesn't do any all the other wrong things that Shias does, there's still hope for him. Like, the Shias got other wrong beliefs. They abuse the Sahaba Ikram, they abuse the Aisha Siddiqa, they believe the Quran is incomplete, etc., etc. So if he doesn't have those beliefs, then this belief won't take him out of the fold of Islam, because it is not a clear, open contradiction of what Rasulullah said. Okay, there's still a bit more explanation with regards to this hadith. We'll cover that tomorrow. I will switch over to the tafsir, inshallah.